Have you ever wondered why do we get so scared when we think about death? Have you ever sat down alone and thought about how your life is going to end? It's not an easy thing to contemplate for most people. It brings up all sorts of uncomfortable feelings and thoughts that we would rather ignore. But it's something we have to come to terms with if we want to live a full and meaningful life. Welcome. I'm here to help you, and I make mental health education videos. The truth is, we are going to spend more time as a corpse than we will as a living person. If you live to be 80 years old, you will spend roughly 33 years dead. This is a fact that most of us don't like to think about. We really like to think that we are invincible and that we will live forever. But the reality is that death is the only thing that we can be absolutely certain of. And yet we spend our whole lives running away from it. So why are we so scared of being alive? Why don't we just embrace it? To answer this question, let's take a look at what happens to us when we die. When we die, our bodies begin to break down. The cells in our bodies start to die, and the organs begin to shut down. The body becomes cold and stiff, and eventually it is no longer recognizable as the person that we once were. Our body is then buried or cremated, and our soul or consciousness moves on to the next realm. Now, this may sound scary, but it doesn't have to be. In fact, many cultures and religions have beautiful ceremonies surrounding death. They understand that death is a natural part of the cycle of life, and they embrace it as such. So why should we be afraid of it? One reason we may be afraid of death is because we fear the unknown. What happens after we die? Where does our consciousness go? Is there an afterlife? These are all questions that have been pondered by humans for centuries. And yet we still do not have any definitive answers. It is this uncertainty that can be terrifying. But what if instead of fearing the unknown, we simply embrace it? What if we see death not as an ending, but as a beginning? Another reason we may be afraid of death is because we fear pain and suffering. The process of dying can be painful, and it can also be very scary. You know, being surrounded by loved ones who are comforting you can help. But ultimately, none of us really know what it's like to die until we've actually experienced it ourselves, so we can only guess at what it might be like. But if we approach death with a sense of curiosity rather than fear, we may find that it is not as bad as we think. Another reason we may be afraid of death is because we fear losing the things that we love. We may be afraid of losing our friends and family, our home, our car, our job, our life as we know it. But the truth is, nothing in this world is permanent. Everything changes all the time. The only constant in life is change itself. So instead of clinging to the things that we love, what if we simply enjoyed them while we could and cherished the memories that we made? Another reason we may be afraid of death is because we fear losing control. We like to feel like we are in control of our lives. We like to feel like we can make our own decisions and that we can shape our own future. But the truth is, we are not in control of anything. We can only control our own thoughts and actions. Everything else is beyond our control. So instead of trying to control everything, what if we simply focused on what we could control and let go of the things that we couldn't? And finally, another reason we may be afraid of death is because we fear being forgotten. We want to be remembered for the contributions that we made to this world. We want to be remembered for the difference that we made. But the truth is, no one will remember us. No one will remember the difference that we made. Only we will remember. So instead of worrying about what others will think of us, what if we simply focused on what we wanted to accomplish and the legacy that we wanted to leave behind? These are just a few of the reasons why we may be afraid of death. Death is a scary topic, and it's understandable that we would be afraid of it. But what if instead of being afraid of death, we embraced it? What if we saw death not as an ending, but as a beginning? What if we saw death as a natural part of the cycle of life? I think that if we did this, we would find that we are not as alone in this world as we think we are. We would find that we are connected to all living things by the fact that we are all mortal. And we would find that death is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Please subscribe.